Hey everyone, welcome back to Defiance. Just letting you know, today's topic is going to be kind of heavy, but I'll try to lighten it up towards the end. We're going over the boarding school era today, and that was a horrible period of time in history, a time that's really not talked about at all. And those that know about it because their family went through it, or they've just randomly heard about it. When I was in high school, the first thing I heard about this era was they got sent to boarding schools. That was it. Native, all I was taught was Native Americans were just sent to boarding school because they were heathens, they were savages, and they needed it. They're not. We're not. Well, no. They were so complex. And so complex, it was simple in its own right. And why I'm talking about this today is because I think we need a little more about the history rather than just, hey, they were just sent there because some guy wanted them to. And we can all see that we, as a human race, we fear what we don't know. And we didn't even give time to understand. Originally, I was just going to talk about how to, in a Wabe, say your emotions, how to say your feelings. But I think this is a little bit better because a whole culture was almost eradicated from this country. So many languages died. And Nashawabe is, yes, it's a language in itself, but there's so many different ways of saying one word. You can go down from you can go from the UP, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, down to the Lower Peninsula of Michigan, and some of the phrases are different. Some of the pronunciations are different. There's different dialects of the same language. But if you know at least one in this area, you can pretty much get around. Nashawabe is a very, very beautiful language, and it's a language of my ancestors, of the people I come from. I don't know how to speak it. I'm learning, and I'm sharing this with all of you because I want to do my part. It's such a beautiful language, and there's so much history to it that why isn't it out there more? Most people don't know it's there. And so for me to do this, at least I'm doing something. I've had family members go to boarding schools, and I've asked a few people. They wouldn't tell me much. And that's the thing, is I didn't want to disrespect them by pushing them. So I ended up doing my own research. I ended up looking through so many places. They all come back to one thing. Boarding schools range. For some people, it was a safe place to be Native American. For other people, it was hell. For a lot of people, it was hell. I have a family member that doesn't want to speak out about being Native American because so much happened to his family. one time, it was illegal to believe in the beliefs of being a Native American, of to participate in anything. The culture was illegal. And now I'm saying this as Americans. As Americans, we ran away from the British to be able to have religion, to believe, to have the ability to believe in what you want. It was supposed to be a free country. But in the end, the same thing that happened to them, they did to another culture. This country was founded on hypocrisy. The boarding school era started in the early to late 1800s. It didn't stop until one or two generations ago. 1978, it became legal to believe, or maybe not 1978, the 1970s, it became legal to participate in ceremonies, to speak your language. It became legal to be Native American again. There's still places here in Michigan, there's still places here in the United States that you go, and if you have any expression of being a Native American, you're bad. My great grandpa had a boat named the Chippewa, and he was in the western state part of Michigan. And basically, he was told to get out of the restaurant. No one would serve him, no nothing, because he just came out and off the lake. They told him to leave. Otherwise, if he didn't, he would basically die, or he'd wish for death. That's still going on today. That wasn't more than 30 years ago. I used to wear feathers in my hair when I was living in Indiana. I got beat up one day at school for showing that I was a Native American, for being proud of it. And to protect myself, quit wearing feathers in my hair. I quit showing that I was proud of my culture. I wouldn't even tell my mom what was happening. If that's happening now, can you even imagine what happened back then? The boarding schools were atrocious. Conditions were horrible. There's accounts of people watching nuns strangle kids. There are mass graves being dug up, being found, of kids that were killed. You were beat if you spoke your language. Being beat is not a way to learn. You changed yourself for ideal pictures of what other people want you to be. Kids were taken forcefully from their parents to go to these boarding schools. And more than half the population died in between 1830 and the late 1900s. There's parts in Traverse City where land was legally taken from Native Americans, and now, once it was found out, the tribe was doing something about it. Because, hey, you went against the treaty, you went against something you agreed on governmentally. It's now they're trying to fight it. Like, I had a whole speech just written out, or at least guidelines for me to talk about. It's really hard to talk about this because there's so much that happened. There's so many stories that there was no happy ending to. Kids would go back home and they couldn't talk to their parents. They couldn't communicate with their family because their language was beat out of them. Some people never went home. Infants died because they weren't taken care of. Because they were different. Because they weren't like the normal society. Because people thought they were savages. They're not. I've heard so many bad things about Native Americans. And you know what? A lot of it wouldn't happen if this era didn't happen. This era, if we were treated like normal people, boarding schools were never a thing, and we acted with more compassion, more understanding, a willing to know, the world would be a different place. So basically, what I'm trying to say is educate yourself. Look into part of the histories of this nation. Because I can guarantee you, you're only getting one side. Can you? It's. I can't single handedly save this culture. I can't single handedly save this language. But I'm gonna try. And I want you to try something new, to try to save something that's gone. I want you to try to learn this language, to look up the history. Because this is a dark hole in American history. You don't hear about it much. And if you do, you hear about Andrew Jackson. You hear about just little stuff here and there. You don't get the full story. And if you hear stuff, you hear it from the government side. You hear it from the side of history that won. And I put that in air quotes because it was a war on a culture. You don't see any monuments to the Native Americans that stood up for what they believed in, who protected their own. you really don't get a history of the Native Americans. And what you do see on movies and TV and everything else, you see a romanticized idea. You see something that's not true. Because I can guarantee you there's definitely more than what meets the eye. There's more to this. My great great grandma went by two different names. Her mother went by different names, so she could escape persecution from another race, from we, from the people that said that they were creating a wonderful nation to be free in, to have free religion, to speak openly. And in doing that, Americans went against what they were standing for. And I can't say anything because I have family on both sides. You know what? Despite my blood quantum, which is a horrible way of categorizing people. Basically, you're putting people as livestock. That's how the classification seems. It's hard. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to think about. But it happened. And it was horrible. And if you stick with this, and you stay and you listen, I'll probably have another video out Thursday or next week about more of my family history, about more of the stories there, about more that to go into more detail. But Miigwech, thank you for listening.